The war room of the Obsidian Fang was silent, except for the hum of the holomap. Admiral Vareth stood tall, his scaled hands clasped behind his back, slit-pupil eyes locked on the shimmering projection in front of him. The image showed a lush green planet, a human colony on the edge of Union space. Small cities glowed like jewels across its surface. No shields, no defense grid. Vareth's mouth curled into the faintest of smiles. Too easy. Around him, his senior officers shifted in their seats, their pride almost spilling into arrogance. "The colony is completely open, Admiral," said Commander Rye, tapping a claw against the map. "Our infiltration drones report no sign of warships. Civilian population only." Another officer leaned forward, excitement flickering in his eyes. "Our analysts say the humans are distracted by a trade summit on their homeworld. No chance of reinforcements. This will be fast and bloodless." Vareth's voice was calm, almost lazy, exactly as planned. For months, the Galactic Union had been preparing this move, a clean takeover to secure human agricultural worlds without provoking a full-scale war. The colony would be claimed under Union law, the people relocated peacefully, and the planet integrated into Union supply chains. No messy battles, no drawn-out resistance. At least that was the plan. Vareth turned to the holomap's tactical layer. Fleet icons shimmered in perfect formation: strike ships, landing craft, and support cruisers. They would drop from hyperspace, directly above the colony, seize the capital, and disable communications before the humans could react. "Perfect," murmured Vareth. "By the time their command realizes what happened, it will be over." Soft laughter echoed from the far corner of the room. The sound was quiet at first, almost like an exhale, but it grew low, deliberate, cutting through the room's confidence like a blade. All heads turned toward the sound. In the shadows sat the human prisoner. His wrists were bound with magnetic cuffs, his uniform torn and stained. His hair was dark, his face lined with exhaustion. And yet his eyes glinted with something that made several officers look away. "You think," he said slowly, "that you're the first to try?" A hush fell over the war room. Vareth narrowed his eyes. "Speak clearly, human." The man tilted his head, his voice soft but sharp. "You think your maps and numbers make you clever? You think we don't see you coming? But you're not the first fleet to believe this was." "Easy." One of the junior officers slammed a fist on the table. "Silence, prisoner." The man smiled faintly, not mocking, but knowing. "Do what you want, but you can't stop what's already waiting for you." Vareth's aides exchanged uneasy glances. The prisoner's tone was not desperate, not fearful. It was confident. And confidence from a captured human was unsettling. Vareth turned away from him. "Ignore the noise. He's trying to rattle us." Still, as the Admiral studied the glowing map, the man's words echoed in his mind. "You're not the first to try." He shook it off. "Begin final preparations. We drop into orbit in 3 hours." 3 hours later, the Obsidian Fang floated. At the head of the fleet, the blue swirl of hyperspace streaming past its hull. Vareth stood on the bridge, watching the countdown. The holomap now showed live tactical overlays, every ship in position, every landing path optimized. It was, by all military standards, flawless status. He asked, "All strike teams ready," said Rye. "Stealth shields engaged, no transmissions from the colony." "They will never see us coming." The human prisoner had been moved too. A small holding cell near the bridge. Vareth could see him through the security glass, sitting calmly, almost peacefully. When the countdown reached 1 minute, the man finally spoke again, his voice carrying across the bridge's comm channel. "You've planned for everything, haven't you?" Vareth didn't answer. The man leaned forward, his eyes locked on the Admiral. "Except what happens when the plan isn't yours anymore." Before Vareth could reply, the countdown hit. 0. With a flare of light, the fleet dropped out of hyperspace, and there it was. The human colony spread below them, blue oceans and green forests gleaming in sunlight. Cities lay quiet, their streets empty. "Perfect," murmured Commander Rye. No response detected. Ships began to descend through the atmosphere, their engines leaving silver trails against the sky. Landing craft glided toward the capital. "First wave landing in 2 minutes," reported the helmsman. Then a flicker on the sensors. Vareth frowned. "What was that?" "It's probably an atmospheric anomaly," said Rai. "Nothing to." The sensor officer's voice cracked. "Sir, multiple heat signatures, underground." The bridge screens lit up with new readings, faint, then stronger, then many. "Increase scans," ordered Vareth. The readings sharpened. Not anomalies, not geological activity. Moving heat signatures. It's in perfect formation, surrounding the landing zones. Vareth's stomach turned. From the cell, the human prisoners. Voice came again, almost cheerful now. "Welcome to the colony, Admiral." The first report from the surface was garbled, static-ridden, and short. "Contact." Unknown too fast, weapons jammed there, then silence. Vareth's jaw tightened. He turned toward the cell. "What is down there?" The man leaned back against the wall, smiling. "Oh, you'll find out." By the time the second report came in, Vareth already knew something was wrong. He had ignored the warning. He had trusted the plan. And somewhere deep in his gut, he began to understand the truth. The humans had been waiting. The trap springs, the bridge of the obsidian fang buzzed with sudden alarm. Red icons began to blossom across the holomap, surrounding every landing zone. "Admiral," the sensor officer's voice was tight. "Those heat signatures are armed. They're moving in military formations. And they're fast." "How fast?" Vareth demanded. The officer hesitated. "Faster than our strike teams can track." Commander Rai frowned. "That's impossible. The colony doesn't have a standing military. They're farmers." From the holding cell, the human prisoner spoke without lifting his head. "Farmers. Sure. Until they need to be something else." Vareth's gaze locked on him. "What are they?" The man smiled faintly. "You'll see." The first live. Feed from the surface flickered onto the bridge's main screen. The image was shaky, filmed from a soldier's helmet cam. At first, all was calm. The landing craft sat in an open plaza, the tall glass buildings of the human capital reflecting. Morning light. Then movement. Shadows darted between the buildings, quick, too quick. One soldier aimed his weapon. Movement at Sector 3, a blur hit him from the side. The feed jerked violently. A sharp scream, then static. The cum channel exploded with overlapping voices. "There in the buildings, contacts everywhere. Something's jamming our weapons." "Don't look in their eyes." Vareth slammed a claw on the console. "Pull the first wave back to orbit." "Too late," the tactical officer said. "Extraction craft are being destroyed before they can lift off." The holomap updated again, red icons swarming over the green Union markers. One by one. The green lights vanished. Vareth turned to Rai. "Deploy aerial support. Clear them out." Rai hesitated. "Sir, can't get a lock on their positions." The humans are using some kind of masking field."
We can't tell where they are."
"Until they're right on top of us." The prisoner chuckled. "You don't get it yet, do you? This isn't just defense. This is a hunt." A new feed came in, not from the Union forces, but from an orbiting recon drone. From high above the city, it showed the streets crawling. With motion, not just human soldiers, civilians too. Men, women, even teenagers, all moving with military precision. Some carried energy rifles. Others had melee weapons, blades, spears, strange curved tools that gleamed under the sun. And all of them moved like they had trained for years. Vareth's jaw clenched. This is no civilian colony. The prisoner finally stood, stepping close to the glass. "It is. You just don't understand what that means when you're talking about humans." On the surface, the remaining strike teams were falling back toward the main plaza. Bodies littered the streets, both Union and human, but the Union losses were far greater. "They're cutting us off. They know every alley, every rooftop. They're forcing us into choke points." Vareth's claws scraped against the console. The humans weren't just fighting. They were controlling the battlefield. Every move the Union soldiers made was met with a counterattack that seemed perfectly predicted. "How?" Vareth demanded. "They don't have the technology to track our forces like this." The prisoner's eyes narrowed. "Technology isn't The only way to win a war? An explosion shook the bridge. The ship's alarms screamed to life. "Admiral," the weapons officer shouted, "orbital batteries. They have ground-to-space weapons hidden in the forests. Two of our frigates are gone." Vareth's spine stiffened. "That's impossible. No human colony has the prisoner." Interrupted him, voice calm and cold. "You keep saying what's impossible for humans, and every time, you're wrong." The battle was spiraling out of control. What had begun as a perfect operation was now chaos. Vareth watched in disbelief as his landing zones turned into traps, his ships into targets. The humans weren't fleeing. They weren't surrendering. They were closing in. Admiral Rai said, "Quai." The bridge of the Obsidian Fang had gone silent. All eyes were fixed on the holoscreen. The red-visored human moved through the smoke like a shadow given form. He wasn't running, wasn't even rushing, but every step seemed to make the Union soldiers falter. Vareth leaned forward. "Magnify." The image zoomed in. The armor was old, not standard human military, but reinforced, blackened by years of wear. Strange marks, almost like tally scratches, ran down one pauldron. Each line was deep, deliberate. "What are those markings?" Vareth asked. The human prisoner in the cell didn't look at the screen. He was smiling faintly. "Each mark is someone who thought they had the perfect plan." On the ground, the red-visored man stopped beside a fallen Union soldier. Without a word, he picked up the soldier's weapon, inspected it, and tossed it aside. The gesture was almost casual, but it made every Union soldier watching him step back. "They're afraid of him," Rai whispered. "Why?" Demanded. The prisoner's eyes were cold, because they've heard the stories. What stories? That if he shows up on your battlefield, it's already over. The comm channels from the surface grew chaotic.
I get it.
"He's gone behind us." Squad 6 is static. The recon drone tried to track him. One moment he was on a rooftop. The next he was inside a building 3 streets away. Then he appeared in the middle of a Union squad, moving like a storm. Vareth's jaw clenched. How is he moving that fast? The prisoner's voice was almost amused. "You don't need speed when you know exactly where your enemy will be before they do." The red-visored man stopped in the plaza. A strange hum filled the air. The human forces pulled back slightly, not in retreat, but in a deliberate circle around the Union survivors. "Sir." Rai's voice trembled. "They're herding our troops into the center." Vareth barked. "Break them out." The weapons officer shook his head. "We can't get a clear shot without hitting our own." "And Admiral, their jamming field is spreading. We're losing connection to our men." On the surface, one Union soldier made a desperate break for the perimeter. The red-visored man didn't move at first. Then, in the blink of an eye, he was there. The soldier's weapon was ripped from his hands, and a single punch sent him sprawling unconscious. It wasn't just combat skill. It was something else. "Something colder," Rai whispered. "This is not war. This is an execution." Vareth slammed his claws on the console. "Bring him to me. Alive." The prisoner laughed. Actually laughed. "You want him alive? Admiral, you don't even want to be in the same system as him. Who is he?" Vareth growled. The prisoner's smile faded. "He's the reason the Union stopped trying to take human colonies. He's the reason our fleets learned to stay in the safe zones. He's the one who cleans up when humans decide they've been crossed." On the feed, the red-visored man finally lifted his head toward the recon drone. Slowly, he raised his hand and pointed directly at the camera. The feed cut to static. The bridge crew froze. How? How did he know?" the sensor officer stammered. "We were cloaked." The prisoner said nothing, only watching Vareth. Moments later, an alarm screamed. "Admiral!" The communications officer cried. "Unknown vessel detected, rising from the far side of the planet." "What class?" Vareth demanded. The officer's voice cracked. "Unknown. Small, but heavily armed. Shields stronger than anything we've seen on this scale." On the view screen, a black ship broke through the cloud layer, sleek and deadly. Its hull bore no insignia, only a single red stripe across the bow. Rai's spine stiffened. That's his ship. How do you know? Vareth asked. Rai didn't look away from the screen. Every Union officer is taught to recognize it, and to pray we never see it. The black ship began transmitting. No words, just a single image, a red visor. The prisoner looked at Vareth. He's giving you a chance, Admiral. One chance to leave. Take it. Vareth's voice was low, dangerous. Don't retreat. The prisoner leaned forward, his face inches from the glass. Then you die. The black ship's weapons powered up. Shields too full. Vareth barked. But the tactical officer shook his head. Sir, our targeting systems are offline. Jamming is complete. We're blind. On the surface, the human forces stopped firing. They simply waited, as if the outcome was already decided. The red-visored man looked up at the sky, and for a moment, Vareth felt, though he was in orbit, far above, that the man was looking directly at him. The prisoner whispered almost to himself, "This is where your perfect plan ends, Admiral." The first shot from the black ship tore through one of Vareth's cruisers in a single strike. No warning, no wasted fire. The rest of the fleet began to panic. Some ships tried to break formation. Others attempted to fire blind into the atmosphere. It didn't matter. The black ship was faster, more precise. Vareth gripped the arm of his chair, claws digging into the metal. He had one decision: left, run, or be destroyed. And still, he hesitated. The obsidian fang shook violently. Alarms screamed through the corridors, red warning lights flashing across the bridge. Direct hit to port side, the weapons officer shouted. Shields are failing before he could finish. The cum officer yelled, "We have an unauthorized dock," and Vareth's spine stiffened. "Pooh!" The officer's voice trembled. "Ass!" It's him. The black ship had latched onto their hull like a predator biting into prey. Internal cameras flickered to life, showing a single boarding tube locking into place. No troops, no squad. Just one man. The red-visored human stepped into the airlock. Smoke hissed around him as the doors opened. His boots made a slow, deliberate sound on the metal floor. Clack, clack, echoing through the empty hallway ahead. Vareth turned to the security chief. "Seal off the corridor. Gas it if you have to. Kill him before he reaches the bridge." The prisoner in the holding cell shook his head. "Gas won't work. Neither will your soldiers. You think one human can?" The prisoner cut him off. I think you're about to find out why we call him the Cleaner." The first security team met him near Junction C-14. They were armed, armored, and ready. The red-visored man didn't slow down. The lead soldier fired. The human tilted his head just enough for the plasma shot to miss, then stepped forward and slammed his elbow into the soldier's helmet. The man dropped instantly. The others tried to overwhelm him. It was over in seconds. When the feed came back, all 5 Union soldiers lay unconscious, weapons scattered. And the human was already walking again, steady, calm, unstoppable. "He's heading straight for us," Rai said quietly. Vareth's tail lashed in frustration. "All units, converge on the central lift. Do not let him." The bridge lights flickered. Then the lift doors opened. He was there. No sound but his boots hitting the deck. His visor glowed faint red in the dim light. The soldiers on the bridge aimed their rifles at him, hands shaking. No one fired. Vareth rose from his chair, trying to keep his voice steady. "You dare board my ship?" The man didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the nearest control console, glanced at it once, and slammed his hand down. Sparks flew as the entire weapons system went offline. "Stop him!" Vareth roared. 2 soldiers rushed forward. The man sidestepped the first, grabbed the second by the collar, and tossed him across the bridge as if he weighed nothing. The prisoner in the cell, now standing near the glass, spoke almost casually. "You should have listened to me, Admiral. This was never about taking the colony. This was about him letting you know you stepped too far." Vareth growled, stepping forward. "You think you can intimidate the Galactic Union? We have the power to." The man finally spoke. His voice was calm, low, and dangerous. "You had a plan," I ended it. "Leave human space, or the next time I come I won't give you the option." For a moment, the bridge was silent. No one moved. Then Vareth made the mistake of trying to strike. With a speed that no one could follow, the human closed the distance, caught Vareth's arm, and slammed him against the command chair. The impact cracked the reinforced frame. "You thought we were prey," the man said, visor inches from Vareth's eyes. "But we've been hunting things bigger than you for a long time." Rai finally spoke. "Admiral, we should leave." The red-visored man released Vareth and turned away. He walked toward the lift without looking back. Just before the doors closed, he spoke again, not loud, but clear enough for every alien on the bridge to hear. "Next time I won't come alone." The prisoner smiled faintly. "Guess I'm free now." Vareth didn't answer. He was staring at the black ship through the viewport as it detached from the obsidian fang and vanished into the void. For the first time in his career, Admiral Vareth ordered a full retreat. The alien fleet limped away from human space. The stars outside the viewport slid by slowly, like they, too, were watching the shameful retreat. Admiral Vareth sat alone in his quarters. His claws drummed against the desk. He had survived many battles, outmaneuvered many enemies, but never had he been humiliated like this. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the red visor. Every time he tried to think of a counterattack, his mind replayed the human's voice. "Next time, I won't come alone." "Admiral, the fleet has regrouped at the outer rim. The Council demands a report." Vareth gave a bitter laugh. "A report? What should I tell them? That one human boarded my ship and crippled it in minutes? That we fled without even firing a final shot?" Rai shifted uneasily. "There are rumors spreading already. Talking, some believe he's not just a soldier. They say he's something else." Vareth narrowed his eyes. Superstition. But even as he said it, he remembered the unnatural speed, the way the man moved like he already knew every attack before it happened. Rai hesitated. "Admiral, there's more. Other fleets, ones that operated near human borders in the past, they've reported similar encounters. Not the same man, but always human, always deadly, always walking away without a scratch." Vareth's spines lowered in thought. How long have they known? Rai's voice dropped to a whisper. "Some say for centuries." On a distant human outpost, the red-visored man, known only as the Cleaner, walked through a quiet docking bay. A group of humans waited for him. Some wore uniforms, others civilian clothes, but all had the same sharp, watchful eyes. One of them, a woman with a scar across her cheek, asked, "Did he understand?" The Cleaner removed his visor, revealing a calm but tired face. "He understood enough. They'll back off." "For now," the woman smirked. "They always do, till they forget again." The Cleaner looked out at the stars, and will remind them. Back on the obsidian fang, the mood was heavy. Crew members avoided speaking in the halls. Soldiers who had faced the human refused to describe what happened, saying only, "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." Vareth gathered his senior officers in the war room. "We will rebuild, will not show weakness to the Council. And if humans are to be feared, then we will learn why." Rai frowned. "Admiral, permission to speak freely?" "Granted. Some things should not be learned." "Want you to tell the tale? I want you to remember the fear?" Vareth's gaze was cold. "Then I'll remember, and I'll use it." In the days that followed, whispers spread through the fleet, not just about the human, but about Earth itself. They called it the Silent Planet in old smuggler stories. They said no one who went there uninvited ever came back. Didn't talk about what they saw. The prisoner who had been freed during the boarding was now gone, vanished without a trace. But Vareth suspected that was no accident. He replayed the moment in his mind, the quiet way the prisoner had spoken, the way he seemed to know exactly what would happen. Was he part of it? One thing was certain. This was no ordinary military victory for humans. It was a message. The message was simple. Do not come closer. The Alien Council, far from the front lines, still demanded answers. They didn't believe the stories. They called it battle stress and fabrication to cover incompetence. But Vareth didn't argue. Let them laugh, let them doubt. He had seen the truth with his own eyes, and he knew. They hadn't even seen humanity at its worst. The truth they hide the stars beyond the viewport glowed cold and distant, but to Admiral Vareth, they felt like watchful eyes. Days had passed since the retreat, yet the memory of the red-visared human was as fresh as if it had happened minutes ago. The council wanted him to return, regroup, and strike again. They had no idea how wrong they were. Vareth sat in the dim war room, the only light coming from a flickering holomap. He had been studying human space for hours. Every chart, every record, every rumor. Patterns began to appear. Worlds that had been targeted in the past, all of them abandoned by alien fleets without explanation. Ships that entered certain zones never returned. One word kept appearing in old smuggler archives, dark sites. The door slid open. Rai entered quietly, carrying a sealed data tablet. "I think I found something you should see," he said, voice low. The file was old, older than either of them. Marked classified level Omega. It contained fragmented reports from multiple alien races spanning centuries. Each report told the same story in different words. Approach abandoned human facilities with caution. Do not investigate. If contact is made, leave immediately. Vareth scrolled further. The deeper he read, the colder he felt. Images of dark, dead worlds, but not lifeless. Structures buried under the soil, massive hangars holding ships unlike any known design, and in every image, humanoid figures, motionless, as if frozen in time, until the camera moved, then they were gone. Rai swallowed hard. These sites, they're not on any official charts. I cross-checked coordinates. Humans erased them from every galactic database. Why? Vareth asked. Rai hesitated. Because whatever they're hiding there, don't want anyone to see until it's too late. Far away, on one such world, the cleaner stood before a sealed black door. The same scar-faced woman from the outpost was beside him. "It's waking up," she said quietly. He didn't look at her. "Then we'll keep the predators at bay until it's ready." From somewhere deep inside the structure came a low, metallic rumble. Back aboard the Obsidian Fang, Vareth made his decision. "We're not going back to human space," he told Rai. "Not until I know what those sites are." "That could take years," Rai warned. "And if the Council finds out they won't," Vareth interrupted. "This stays between us." But outside their ship, in the dark between stars, something watched them. A small black drone, human-made, clung invisibly to the hull. It transmitted a single message before vanishing into the void. Observation complete. Target has taken the bait on Earth, deep beneath a fortified bunker. A group of human strategists reviewed the transmission. The cleaner entered the room. "They've seen enough," he said. One of the strategists looked up, and the Admiral. "We'll keep looking," the cleaner replied. "That's what they do. Curiosity. It's the first step toward fear." The strategist nodded. "And when they find out the truth?" The cleaner smiled faintly, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Then they'll understand why we've always been ready." Final image. Far in the void, an alien scout ship drifts toward a derelict human station, one of the dark sites. Its crew approaches the sealed black door. They don't notice the faint movement in the shadows behind them. And somewhere, far away, a human voice whispers over an encrypted channel. "Another one took the bait.